Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahi Mam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam. Reading from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 9, entitled Mother Yashoda Binding Lord Krishna. Request all of you to please hear attentively. In between, we will be having short quizzes based on this chapter that we are reading right now. Please hear attentively. Once upon a time, seeing that her maid servant was engaged in different household duties, Mother Yashoda personally took charge of churning butter. And while she churned butter, she sang the childhood pastimes of Krishna and enjoyed thinking of her son. And the end of her sari was tightly wrapped while she churned, and on account of her intense love for her son, milk automatically dripped from her breasts, which moved as she labored very hard, churning with two hands. The bangles and bracelets on her hands tinkled as they touched each other, and her earrings and breasts shook. There were drops of perspiration on her face, and the flower garland which was on her head scattered here and there. Before this picturesque sight, Lord Krishna appeared as a child. He felt hungry, and out of love for his mother, he wanted her to stop churning. He indicated that her first business was to let him suck her breast and then churn butter later. Mother Yashoda took her son on her lap and pushed the nipples of her breasts into his mouth. And while Krishna was sucking the milk, she was smiling, enjoying the beauty of her child's face. Suddenly, the milk which was on the oven began to boil over. Just to stop the milk from spilling, Mother Yashoda at once put Krishna aside and went to the oven. Left in that state by his mother, Krishna became very angry, and his lips and eyes became red in rage. He pressed his teeth and lips, and taking up a piece of stone, he immediately broke the butter pot. He took butter out of it, and with false tears in his eyes, he began to eat the butter in a secluded place. In the meantime, Mother Yashoda returned to the churning place after setting the overflowing milk pan in order. She saw the broken pot in which the churning yogurt was kept. Since she could not find her boy, she concluded that the broken pot was his work. She began to smile as she thought, the child is very clever. After breaking the pot, he has left this place, fearing punishment. After she sought all over, she found a big wooden grinding mortar which was kept upside down, and she found her son sitting on it. He was taking butter which was hanging from the ceiling on a swing, and he was feeding it to the monkeys. She saw Krishna looking this way and that way in fear of her because he was conscious of his naughty behavior. After seeing her son so engaged, she very silently approached him from behind. Krishna, however, quickly saw her coming at him with a, with a stick in her hand, and immediately he got down from the grinding mortar and began to flee in fear. Mother Yashoda chased him to all corners, trying to capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never approached even by the meditations of great yogis. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is never caught by the yogis and speculators, was playing just like a little child for a great devotee like Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda, however, could not easily catch the fast running child because of her thin waist and heavy body. Still, she tried to follow him as fast as possible. Her hair loosened, and the flower in her hair fell to the ground. Although she was tired, she somehow reached her naughty child and captured him. When he was caught, Krishna was almost on the point of crying. He smeared his hands over his eyes, which were anointed with black eye cosmetics. The child saw his mother's face while she stood over him, and his eyes became restless from fear. Mother Yashoda could understand that Krishna was unnecessarily afraid, and for his benefit, she wanted to allay his fears. Being the topmost well wisher of her child, Mother Yashoda began to think, if the child is too fearful of me, I don't know what will happen to him. Mother Yashoda then threw away her stick. In order to punish him, she thought to bind his hands with some ropes. She did not know it, but it was actually impossible for her to bind the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Yashoda was thinking that Krishna was her tiny child. She did not know that the child had no limitation. There is no inside or outside of him, nor beginning or end. He is unlimited and all pervading. Indeed, he is himself the whole cosmic manifestation. Still, Mother Yashoda was thinking of Krishna as her child. Although he is beyond the reach of all senses, she endeavored to bind him up to a wooden grinding mortar. But when she tried to bind him, she found that the rope was she found that the rope she was using was too short by 2 inches. She gathered more ropes from the house and added to it, but at the end she found the same shortage. In this way, she connected all the ropes available at home, but when the final knot was added, she saw that it was still 2 inches too short. Mother Yashoda was smiling, but she was astonished. How was it happening? In attempting to bind her son, she became tired. She was perspiring, and the garland on her head fell down. Then Lord Krishna appreciated the hard labor of his mother, and being compassionate upon her, he agreed to be bound up by the ropes. Krishna, playing as a human child in the house of Mother Yashoda, was performing his own selected pastimes. Of course, no one can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pure devotee surrenders himself unto the lotus feet of the Lord, who may either protect or vanquish the devotee. But for his part, the devotee never forgets his own position of surrender. Similarly, the Lord also feels transcendental pleasure by submitting himself to the protection of the devotee. This was exemplified by Krishna's surrender unto his mother Yashoda. Krishna is the supreme bestower of all kinds of liberation to his devotees, but the benediction which was bestowed upon Mother Yashoda was never experienced even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva or the goddess of fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, is never so completely known to the yogis and speculators, but he is easily available to his devotees. Nor is he appreciated as the supreme reservoir of all pleasure by the yogis and speculators. After binding her son, Mother Yashoda engaged herself in household affairs. At that time, bound up to the wooden mortar, Krishna could see a pair of trees before him, which were known as Arjuna trees. The great reservoir of pleasure, Sri Krishna thus thought to himself. Mother Yashoda first of all left without feeding me sufficient milk, and therefore I broke the pot of yogurt and distributed the stock butter in charity to the monkeys. Now she has bound me up to a wooden mortar. So I shall do something more mischievous than before. And thus he thought of pulling down the two very tall Arjuna trees. There is a history behind the pair of Arjuna trees. In their previous lives, the trees were born as the human sons of Kuvera, and their names were Nalakuvara and Manigriva. Fortunately, they came within the vision of the Lord. In their previous lives, they were cursed by the great sage Narada in order to receive the highest benediction of seeing Lord Krishna. This benediction curse was bestowed upon them because of their forgetfulness due to intoxication. This story will be narrated in the next chapter. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the ninth chapter of Krishna, Mother Yashoda binding Lord Krishna. So this is a very short chapter, Damodar Leela, pastime. So let us now have a quick round of quiz. So I'm going to ask you questions. If you know the answer, you can raise your hand and wait for your turn for your name to be called out. Then you can answer the question. Okay, here's your first question. Why were there drops of perspiration on the face of Mother Yashoda? Why was she perspiring? Why was she sweating? Who can answer? Yes, Abhishek.
So she was churning butter, Prabhu.
Mm,
That's why sweet was coming out of space.
yeah. So she was churning butter with both her hands, and it was a hard task, a physical labor. So because of that, uh, Mother Yashoda was perspiring. Okay, the next question is, what was she thinking about while Mother Yashoda was churning butter? What was she doing? What was she thinking about? Who can answer? Quickly put up your hand. Okay, the answer is Mother Yashoda was singing about the childhood pastimes of Krishna, and she was enjoying thinking about her son Krishna. So Mother Yashoda was churning butter, but while she was churning butter, she was actually uh, she was actually thinking about Krishna, and the Bhagavatam says she was singing songs about the different leelas of Lord Krishna. Right? She had composed certain songs about the leelas of Krishna because she didn't want to ever forget the activities of her dear son Krishna. That is why she was singing those songs and she was thinking about Krishna while she was churning butter. From this, we understand that devotees, whatever work they may be doing, one thing they should never forget, they should always remember Krishna in whatever way possible, either through chanting or by hearing about Krishna or by singing songs about Krishna. In some or the other way, a devotee is always absorbed in thinking about Krishna while doing various activities in his or her daily life. That is what Mother Yashoda is teaching us. Okay, the next question is uh, why did Krishna break the butter pot? Why did Krishna break the butter pot? Who can answer? Yes, Abhishek.
Because Mother Yashoda went to take milk was boiling, so to prevent the spilling the milk, she
Yeah,
went there and she left Lord Krishna just hungry. So out of anger, Lord Krishna broke the pot.
yeah, that's the right answer. So it is said when you are hungry, you also become angry, right? So Mother Yashoda was feeding Krishna. Krishna was very hungry, but halfway she left the child because she remembered that she had kept milk on the stove. She didn't want that milk to spill over. So halfway, she left feeding Krishna and went to attend the milk. And this angered Krishna. And because of this anger, Krishna actually broke the butter pot, the exactly the same pot which in which Mother Yashoda was churning butter, no? That same pot Krishna broke. And then he had false tears in his eyes and he began to eat butter in a secluded place. This is what Krishna did when he became angry. Okay, the next question is uh, yes. Now, uh, what is the greatness of Mother Yashoda compared to great yogis and speculators, as highlighted in this Damodar Leela? What is the greatness of Mother Yashoda compared to the yogis, the jnanis? Yes, Abhishek.
Yogi meditates for many thousands of years just to
Mm,
have a darshan of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. But Mother Yashoda was personally, she was able
mm,
to catch Lord Krishna physically.
yeah,
So
yes, yes, that's the right answer. Wonderful. So, here, let us read again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, before that, Mother Yashoda chased him to all corners, trying to capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never approached even by the meditations of great yogis. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is never caught by the yogis and speculators, was playing just like a little child for a great devotee like Mother Yashoda. So, as Abhishek rightly said, even great yogis and jnanis, through meditation, they cannot get a glimpse of Lord Krishna. But Mother Yashoda is so fortunate. She was able to not only run behind Krishna, but she was also able to catch Krishna. She captured Krishna. In other words, Krishna allowed himself to be captured by Mother Yashoda, right? So, Krishna is fully under the control of his pure devotees. Krishna is Bhakta Paradhina. He is under the control of the pure devotees. He is not easily approachable by any other processes of yoga, jnana, or karma, but he is easily achievable through bhakti. This is what Lord Krishna says personally in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. So if you want to know me tattvataha as I am, in truth, that is possible only through bhakti. So Mother Yashoda was a pure devotee of the Lord, and that is why she was able to capture Krishna, who is otherwise not at all approachable even by great meditating yogis. Okay, the next question. Uh, yes. Why did Mother Yashoda throw away the stick and instead try to bind Krishna? Why did she do that? Why did she throw away the stick which she was having in her hand? Yes, Abhishek.
because she saw that Krishna is too much afraid. So she
Hmm.
thought that if he becomes, there's no need of becoming afraid of such
Yeah,
mistakes. So she
yeah,
threw the stick.
yeah. So she threw the stick because she saw that Krishna was becoming unnecessarily afraid. She didn't want her son to become too afraid. It won't be good. She thought like that, so she threw away the stick. So here in this Damodar Leela, one very beautiful thing that we can observe is Krishna, he is actually he is feared by fear personified. Even great devatas, they execute their duties out of fear of Krishna, right? The whole existence fears Krishna, but here Krishna is fearing Mother Yashoda, right? He is actually, he gives abhaya, bhaktanam abhayankaraha, Bhagavatam says. Krishna gives fearlessness to his devotees. But look at the wonderful pastime here. Krishna himself is becoming fearful upon seeing Mother Yashoda. All this Krishna does to actually glorify the position of Mother Yashoda. Actually, the entire Damodar Leela Krishna performs to uphold the position of pure devotional service and the position of a pure devotee like Mother Yashoda, to glorify pure devotional service and pure devotee. Krishna performs this Damodar Leela. Okay, the next question is uh, why was Mother Yashoda smiling and at the same time astonished when she was trying to bind Krishna? She was smiling, plus she was astonished also. Why? Yes, Krishna Chandra.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. While she trying to bind Krishna, but the rope is getting 2 inches short.
Yeah,
So that's why he's smiling. Why it is getting short?
yeah. And why is she astonished? She was surprised, no? She was, how
Yes,
is this happening like that? So I'll read this part. That's the right answer. So Mother Yashoda, in this way, connected all the ropes available at home. But when the final knot was added, she saw that it was still 2 inches too short. Therefore, Mother Yashoda was smiling, but she was astonished. How was this happening? Right? So, how was this happening? She was surprised, astonished. She was smiling also. What is this prankster doing? My child is known for playing pranks. Is he doing some prank again with me? So Mother Yashoda is smiling. And at the same time, she's seeing, I'm joining so many ropes one after the other. Still, every time it is 2 inches too short. So she was astonished. That means she was surprised. So this is something very special. Actually, as it is mentioned here, there is no inside and outside of Krishna. In fact, the entire cosmic manifestation is within Krishna. So, how can somebody bind Krishna who is actually unlimited? Isn't it? So, but finally, Krishna allowed himself to be bound when she saw that Mother Yashoda had become too tired. And finally, he agreed to be bound. In the Bhagavatam, it is said, Swabandhane. Actually, it was not Mother Yashoda who bound Krishna. Bhagavatam says, Swabandhane. He himself got bound. He agreed to be bound. So only when Krishna agrees to be bound, devotee can bind him. Otherwise, it is not possible to bind Krishna, right? So therefore, it is described Mother Yashoda's position is much, much greater than liberated souls, than those who are expert in Vedic understanding. Her position is much greater than Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, because the favor that Krishna bestowed upon Mother Yashoda by performing such sweet childhood leelas, Krishna did not bestow this favor upon anybody else. Therefore, Mother Yashoda's position is very, very glorious, right? Okay, so what are the names of the two trees? What are the two trees known as, which Krishna brought down? Which, yes, Preeti Mataji. Please unmute yourself. Okay,
Hare Krishna
yeah,
Prabhu just joined. I just joined.
okay, okay, no problem. So, do you know the answer? Alankrita Mataji can answer. What are the names of the trees?
Arjuna tree, Prabhu.
Yeah, so they are called Yamala Arjuna trees. Yamala means twin Arjuna trees. Actually, within those two trees were two personalities, the sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva. They were actually cursed by Narad Muni to become trees. So now the next chapter, let us read what actually caused Narad Muni to curse the sons of Kuvera. Let us read that. So request all of you to please pay attention and hear, and we will have another round of quiz after this chapter. Chapter 10, Deliverance of Nalakuvara and Manigriva. The story of the cursing of Nalakuvara and Manigriva and their deliverance by Krishna under the all blissful desire of the great sage Narada is here described. The two great demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were sons of the treasurer of the demigods, Kuvera, who was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Kuvera's material opulences had no limit. As a rich man's sons often become addicted to wine and women, so these two sons of Kuvera were also addicted to wine and sex. Once these two demigods, desiring to enjoy, entered the garden of Lord Shiva in the province of Kailasa on the bank of Mandakini Ganges. There they drank much and engaged in hearing the sweet singing of beautiful women who accompanied them in that garden of fragrant flowers. In an intoxicated condition, they both entered the water of the Ganges, which was full with lotus flowers, and there they began to enjoy the company of the young girls, exactly as the male elephant enjoys the female elephants within the water. While they were thus enjoying themselves in the water, all of a sudden Narada, the great sage, happened to pass that way. He could understand that the demigods Nalakuvara and Manigriva were too intoxicated and could not even see that he was passing. The young girls, however, were not so intoxicated as the demigods, and they at once became ashamed at being naked before the great sage Narada. They began to cover themselves with all haste. The two demigod sons of Kuvera were so intoxicated that they could not appreciate the presence of the great sage Narada and therefore did not cover their bodies. On seeing the two demigods so degraded by intoxication, Narada desired their welfare, and therefore he exhibited his causeless mercy upon them by cursing them. Because the great sage was compassionate upon them, he wanted to finish their false enjoyment of intoxication and association with young girls, and wanted them to see Lord Krishna eye to eye. He conceived of cursing them as follows. He said that the attraction for material enjoyment is due to an increase of the mode of passion. A person in the material world, when favored by the material opulence of riches, generally becomes addicted to three things: intoxication, sex, and gambling. Materially opulent men, being puffed up with the accumulation of wealth, also become so merciless that they indulge in killing animals by opening slaughterhouses. And they think that they themselves will never die. Such foolish persons, forgetting the laws of nature, become overly infatuated with the body. They forget that the material body, even though very much advanced in civilization, up to the position of the demigods, will finally be turned to ashes. And while one is living, whatever the external condition of the body may be, within there is only stool, urine, and various kinds of worms. Thus, being engaged in jealousy and violence to other bodies, materialists cannot understand the ultimate goal of life, and without knowing this goal of life, they generally glide down to a hellish condition. In their next birth, such foolish persons commit all kinds of sinful activities on account of this temporary body, and they are even unable to consider whether this body actually belongs to them. Generally, it is said that the body belongs to the persons who feed the body. One might therefore consider whether this body belongs to one personally or to the master to whom one renders service. The master of slaves claims full right to the bodies of the slaves because the master feeds the slaves. It may be questioned then whether the body belongs to the father, who is the seed giving master of this body, or to the mother who develops the child's body in her womb. Foolish persons are engaged in committing all sorts of sins due to the misconception of identifying the material body with the self. But one should be intelligent enough to understand to whom this body belongs. A foolish person indulges in killing other animals to maintain the body, but he does not consider whether this body belongs to him or to his father or mother or grandfather. Sometimes a grandfather or a father gives his daughter in charity to a person with a view of getting back the daughter's child as a son. The body may also belong to a stronger man who forces it to work for him. Sometimes the slave's body is sold to the master on the basis that the body will belong to the master. And at the end of life, the body belongs to the fire because the body is given to the fire and burned to ashes. Or the body is thrown into the street to be eaten by the dogs and vultures. Before committing all kinds of sins to maintain the body, one should understand to whom the body belongs. Ultimately, it is concluded that the body is a product of material nature, and at the end, it merges into material nature. Therefore, the conclusion should be that the body belongs to material nature. One should not wrongly think that the body belongs to him. To maintain a false possession, why should one indulge in killing? Why should one kill innocent animals to maintain the body? When a man is infatuated with the false prestige of opulence, he does not care for any moral instruction, but indulges in wine, women, and animal killing. In such circumstances, a poverty stricken man is often better situated because a poor man thinks of himself in relation to other bodies. A poor man often does not wish to inflict injuries to other bodies because he can understand more readily that when he himself is injured, he feels pain. As such, the great sage Narada considered that because the demigods Nalakuvara and Manigriva were so infatuated by false prestige, they should be put into a condition of life devoid of opulence. A person who has a pinprick in his body does not wish others to be pricked by pins. A considerate man in the life of poverty does not wish others to be also put into that condition. Generally, it is seen that one who has risen from a poverty stricken life and becomes wealthy creates some charitable institution at the end of his life so that other poverty stricken men might be benefited. In short, a compassionate poor man may consider others' pains and pleasures with empathy. A poor man may be seldom puffed with false pride, and he may be freed from all kinds of infatuation. He may remain satisfied by whatever he gets for his maintenance by the grace of the Lord. To remain in the poverty stricken condition is a kind of austerity. According to Vedic culture, therefore, the Brahmanas, as a matter of routine, keep themselves in a poverty stricken condition to save themselves from the false prestige of material opulence. False prestige due to advancement of material prosperity is a great impediment for spiritual emancipation. A poverty-stricken man cannot become unnaturally fat by eating more and more. And on account of not being able to eat more than he requires, his senses are not very turbulent. When the senses are not very turbulent, he cannot become violent. Another advantage of poverty is that a saintly person can easily enter a poor man's house, and thus the poor man can take advantage of the saintly person's association. A very opulent man does not allow anyone to enter his house, therefore, the saintly person cannot enter. According to the Vedic system, a saintly person takes the position of a mendicant so that, on the plea of begging something from the householder, he can enter any house. The householder, who has usually forgotten everything about spiritual advancement because he is busy maintaining family affairs, can be benefited by the association of a saintly person. There is a great chance for the poor man to become liberated through association with a saint. Of what use are persons who are puffed up with material opulence and prestige if they are bereft of the association of saintly persons and devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The great sage Narada, therefore, thought that it was his duty to put those demigods into a condition where they could not be falsely proud of their material opulence and prestige. Narada was compassionate and wanted to save them from their fallen life. They were in the mode of darkness, and being therefore unable to control their senses, they were addicted to sex life. It was the duty of a saintly person like Narada to save them from their abominable condition. In animal life, the animal has no sense to understand that he is naked. But Kuvera was the treasurer of the demigods, a very responsible man, and Nalakuvara and Manigriva were two of his sons. And yet they became so animalistic and irresponsible that they could not understand, due to intoxication, that they were naked. To cover the lower part of the body is a principle of human civilization, and when a man or woman forgets this principle, they become degraded. Narada therefore thought that the best punishment for them was to make them immovable living entities, or trees. Trees are, by nature's laws, immovable. Although trees are covered by the mode of ignorance, they cannot do harm. The great sage Narada thought it fitting that, although the brothers, by his mercy, would be punished to become trees, they continue to keep their memory to be able to know why they were being punished. After changing the body, a living entity generally forgets his previous life, but in special cases, by the grace of the Lord, as with Nalakuvara and Manigriva, one can remember. Sage Narada therefore contemplated that the two demigods should remain for 100 years in the time of the demigods, in the form of trees, and after that they would be fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face by his causeless mercy. And thus they would be again promoted to the life of the demigods and great devotees of the Lord. After this, the great sage Narada returned to his abode known as Narayana Ashrama, and the two demigods turned into trees known as twin Arjuna trees. The two demigods were favored by the causeless mercy of Narada and given a chance to grow in Nanda's courtyard and see Lord Krishna face to face. Although the child Krishna was bound up to the wooden mortar, he began to proceed towards the growing trees in order to fulfill the prophecy of his great devotee Narada. Lord Krishna knew that Narada was his great devotee and that the trees standing before him as twin Arjuna trees were actually the sons of Kuvera. I must now fulfill the words of my great devotee Narada, he thought. Then he began to proceed through the passage between the two trees. Although he was able to pass through the passage, the large wooden mortar stuck horizontally between the trees. Taking advantage of this, Lord Krishna began to pull the rope which was tied to the mortar. As soon as he pulled with great strength, the two trees, with all branches and limbs, fell down immediately with a great sound. Out of the broken, fallen trees came two great personalities, shining like blazing fire. All sides became illuminated and beautiful by their presence. The two purified bodies immediately came before child Krishna and bowed down to offer their respects and prayers in the following words. Dear Lord Krishna, you are the original personality of Godhead, master of all mystic powers. Learned Brahmanas know very well that this cosmic manifestation is an expansion of your potencies, which are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. You are the original provider of the life, body, and senses of all living entities. You are the eternal God, Lord Vishnu, who is all pervading, the principal controller of everything. You are the original source of the cosmic manifestation, which is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. You are living as the supersoul in all the multi forms of living entities, and you know very well what is going on within their bodies and minds. Therefore, you are the supreme director of all activities of all living entities. But although you are in the midst of everything which is under the spell of but although you are in the midst of everything which is under the spell of the material modes of nature, you are not affected by such contaminated qualities. No one under the jurisdiction of the material modes can understand your transcendental qualities, which existed before the creation. Therefore, you are called the Supreme Brahman, who is always glorified by his personal internal potencies. In this material world, you can be known only by your different incarnations. Although you assume different types of bodies, these bodies are not part of the material creation. They are always full of transcendental potencies of unlimited opulence, strength, beauty, fame, wisdom, and renunciation. In the material existence, there is a difference between the body and the owner of the body. But because you appear in your original spiritual body, there is no such difference for you. When you appear, your uncommon activities indicate that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such uncommon activities are not possible for anyone in material existence. You are that Supreme Personality of Godhead now appearing to cause the birth and death as well as liberation of the living entities, and you are full with all your plenary expansions. You can bestow on everyone all kinds of benedictions. O Lord, O source of all fortune and goodness, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. You are the all pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of peace, and the Supreme Person in the dynasty of King Yadu. O Lord, our Father, known as Kuvera, the demigod, is your servant. Similarly, the great sage Narada is also your servitor, and by their grace only we have been able to see you personally. We therefore pray that we may always be engaged in your transcendental loving service by speaking only about your glories and hearing about your transcendental activities. May our hands and other limbs be engaged in your service, and our minds always be concentrated at your lotus feet, and our heads always bowed down before the all pervading universal form of your Lordship. When the demigods Nalakuvara and Manigriva finished their prayers, the child, Lord Krishna, the master and proprietor of Gokula, bound to the wooden grinding mortar by the ropes of Yashoda, began to smile and said, "It was already known to me that my great devotee sage Narada had shown his causeless mercy by saving you from the abominable condition of pride due to possessing extraordinary beauty and opulence in the family of the demigods. He has saved you from gliding down into the lowest position of hellish life. All these facts are already known to me. You are very fortunate because you were not only cursed by him, but you had the great opportunity to see me, to see him. If someone is able by chance to see a great saintly person like Narada face to face, who is always serene and merciful to everyone, then immediately that conditioned soul becomes liberated. This is exactly like being situated in the full light of the sun. There cannot be any visionary impediment. Therefore, O Nalakuvara and Manigriva, your lives have now become successful because you have developed ecstatic love for me. This is your last birth within material existence. Now you can go back to your father's residence in the heavenly planet, and by remaining in the attitude of devotional service, you will be liberated in this very life. After this, the demigods circumambulated the Lord many times and bowed down before him again and again, and thus they left. The Lord remained bound up with ropes to the grinding mortar. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 10th chapter of Krishna entitled Deliverance of Nalakuvara and Manigriva. What a wonderful chapter, isn't it? So, the best part is Krishna, after hearing the prayers of the sons of Kuvera, he said, your life has become successful because you have seen Narad Muni, the great devotee. Krishna did not say, your life has become successful because you have seen me. Narad Muni said, Krishna is glorifying Narad Muni, the pure devotee. Just like pure devotees are always eager to glorify Krishna, Krishna is ever eager to glorify his pure devotees. This is the greatness of the devotees of the Lord. This is the greatness of the Lord himself. Okay, here are the questions based on this chapter. So please hear to the questions, and if you know the answer, not only know the answer, if you can also attempt to answer, even if you don't know, you can attempt. Okay. So I want all of you to participate, please. So first question is, why is the curse given by Narad Muni called as benediction curse? Why it is called benediction curse? Who can answer? Raise your hand. Some of you might not be knowing there is an option on Google Meet called as raise hand. You can see the three, uh, please use that option, raise hand, okay, so that you can also participate. Yes, Guru, Guru Arvind. Yes. What's the answer? Please unmute.
Krishna, Krishna Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
So it is a benediction because ultimately the goal of that curse is for them to realize and then improve upon themselves to get to the service of Lord.
Yeah,
So that is why it is a benediction curse.
wonderful. Very nice. So apparently it looks like a curse, but because pure devotee like Narad Muni is cursing, the curse of a pure devotee also is a benediction because ultimately it led to the purification of the two sons of Kuvera. They came in they came to a position where personally they could see Krishna face to face, isn't it? So that's the greatness of Narad Muni's curse. So when Narad Muni curses somebody, we should know it is actually for the Atmodhara, for the benefit of the soul who is being cursed. Wonderful. Okay, the next question. Why did Narad Muni think that the two sons of Kuvera should be put in a position uh, where they will not be able to enjoy any opulence? Why? Why did Narad Muni put them in, think that they should be put in a condition devoid of opulence, devoid of wealth? Put up your hand if you know the answer or if you want to attempt. Yes, Alankrita Mataji.
So uh, when they had everything, wealth and everything, and they got intoxicated before because of that, and they did not appreciate the presence of Narada Muni. They were very
Yeah,
ignorant and they behaved like animals.
yeah, right. So they were in an opulent position, but they had become proud because of their opulence. And because of that pride, they did not they did not know that they were so intoxicated, they did not know that they should respect a saintly person like Narad Muni. They were practically like animals. Therefore, Narad Muni thought I should put them in a condition where they cannot be proud of their wealth, their opulence, right? So that was the thinking. So whenever a pure devotee does something, he actually has a lot of foresight in mind. So Narad Muni thought a lot and then he gave his curse. That's a very interesting thing. It's not that because of anger Narad Muni cursed. It was not a reaction, it was a response by Narad Muni. For pure devotee like Narad Muni, anger is always under his control. He does not get controlled by anger. Okay, now one more important question. Let's see who will get this. According to Narad Muni, what are the advantages of poverty? Generally, we think poverty is a disadvantageous position, right? To be poor is a very sad thing in this world. But Narad Muni thought differently. So there are a set of advantages associated with poverty, according to Narad Muni. What were those? Yes, Preeti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. A poor man usually does not fulfill his senses. So, because his senses are not fulfilled, his anger, he does not get agitated, he does not get anger. So, all the saint person can approach him, they can enter their house, and with the association of saintly persons, they get a benefit. So, that is why it is said.
Very nice, right? Very nice answer. Anyone would like to add to this? Yes, Ashish. Any other advantages of poverty?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Uh, as a poor man, they are not like enjoying things as the other like the people who are demigods because they are having so much opulence.
Hmm,
Uh, they usually get pride, but
hmm,
because poor man is not having that much opulence, that pride does
hmm.
not come, and
Okay,
that keep them grounded and easily make them available to interact with the saintly person.
yeah,
It,
very
it
nice.
give an
Correct,
opportunity to them.
correct. Yes, Guru Arvind wants to say, I had one more point, probably.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm just thinking the lines of maybe one who's poor has a better opportunity at understanding that opulence is given by the God Himself,
Hmm,
and so
hmm.
Abhimana and such doshas would not probably be there because
Right,
one
right.
realizes that this is not mine; it has been given to me, and I'm a custodian
Yes,
only.
yes, yes. Wonderful, very nice. So let us quickly read this part where Narad Muni is thinking about different advantages of being poor. So, first thing is a considerate man in the life of poverty does not wish others to be put into that condition. That means they are more empathetic. Poverty stricken people, they can compassionately empathize with others because they also have seen the struggles and pains in this world. So they readily can empathize with others. That is number one. Second thing is, as some of you said, poor man may be seldom puffed with false pride, right? So, and he may be freed from all kinds of infatuation. So poor man will not be proud because he has nothing to be proud of, materially speaking. Therefore, he won't get unnecessarily attached or infatuated with his possessions. And third thing, as Guru said, he may remain satisfied by whatever he gets for his maintenance by the grace of the Lord. He recognizes that everything is given by the Lord. Generally, the rich people might think that I have earned all this by my own abilities. Of course, there may be exceptions in both rich people and poor people, but general trend, generally, it is like that. But a poor person, he becomes satisfied with whatever the Lord gives. Yadrucha labha santushtaha, as Krishna says, one can remain satisfied with whatever the Lord gives. And then Prabhupada also is saying that to remain in a poverty-stricken condition is a kind of tapasya. So, Daridrya Vrata, it is called. Many great Brahmanas in the past who wanted to lead a life based on self-realization, they would voluntarily accept a poverty-stricken condition because they didn't want to get carried away by the material opulence and the false prestige that comes along with it. We must have studied in our history books also the great Prime Minister of Chandragupta Maurya, who was actually the mastermind behind Chandragupta Maurya's political success, that is Chanakya Pandit. He was a great Brahmana, and when he was offered a palace to live in by Chandragupta Maurya, he flatly refused. And Chanakya said, Brahmana should not live in a palace, then he will become controlled by wealth and he will become a slave of the king. See, this is called being in. So a Brahmana should be independently thoughtful. He should not come under anybody's mercy that way. So Chanakya refused. He instead remained in a poor, in a humble hut. So that example we see. And then another thing Prabhupada says, a poverty-stricken man cannot become unnaturally fat by eating more and more. And on account of not being able to eat more than he requires, his senses are not very turbulent. So when you eat more, when the senses get more than required strength, they naturally look for sense gratificatory engagements. So if you are noticed on the day of Ekadashi, when you are when you are fasting, like today we are fasting, it is easier because the senses easier to manage the senses because senses will not be hyperactive, right? So you feed less, the body will be in energy saving mode. So there is no room for extra engagements or sense gratificatory pursuits. So so senses won't be turbulent for a poverty stricken person because he doesn't unnecessarily eat more. And when the senses are not turbulent, he cannot become violent. That means he will be sober, he will be sense control is much better. And as one of the last points that one of you said, poverty-stricken person gets his doors are open for saintly people to visit and give association, whereas a rich person may have security guards and so many things, right? Dogs and all that. We have experience of this when we go for book distribution. We see big houses, and by seeing the house, we think, oh, here we can give a Bhagavatam set. This person will buy. But when we go, either there will be dogs which will start barking, or there will be very tight security or something. The security guard will not allow us to go inside. Whereas a rich man's house, simple house, it is more accessible for saintly people. So these are the advantages of poverty. Okay, last question. For how many years did the sons of Kuvera remain as trees? For how many years? Who can answer? Anybody who has not answered so far should attempt. Krishna Pandey, have you taken Mauna Vrat? Krishna Pandey, you want to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I probably missed that number of years.
Ah, that's why I said you should hear attentively. You can take a guess. How many years?
I,
You
I
don't want to
can't even
guess.
guess. I,
Okay, Krishna Chandra will tell us the answer.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Chandra.
Prabhu. It's 100 years.
100 years of human beings?
Uh, Tree.
Guru Arvind, yes.
1,000 years.
1,000 years. You're increasing. No, it is 100 years only. 100 years in the calculation of the
Oh,
Devatas.
Devatas. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
100 celestial years, not according to human calculations. So 100 is the right answer. But according to the calculation of Devatas, 100 years they had to remain. But because it was a curse given by the devotee Narad Muni, they took birth as trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaja's palace in Gokul, so that they got an opportunity to see Krishna face to face. So, with this, we come to the end of today's Krishna book reading session. Srila Prabhupada always said, just by reading this one book, Krishna book, one can attain pure love of Krishna. So, we are all very fortunate to get an opportunity to read this book. So let us continue to read. Tomorrow also we will be reading at 8 o'clock. Please do join us. Even if you don't get a message from me, please do join us. Same link at 8 p.m. Thank you very much. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Ki Jai. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.